Hello everyone, welcome to Kuiper College's Field Practicum Orientation video. There'll be two of these. This is part one. Just it gives us a chance to kind of connect and kind of explain what is Field Practicum at Kuiper College, kind of introduce myself, introduce my role, kind of set some expectations and understanding for what the practicum entails. And hopefully this will help you feel prepared as we enter into the new semester. All right. So first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to all supervisors for partnering with us on this. Obviously, we can't do field practicum unless we have agencies and supervisors willing to invest in our students and give them the opportunity to learn what the social work field is, but also practice their social work skills and kind of develop all those skills and become a well-rounded social worker by the end of their internship. So thank you for that investment of your time and your knowledge into our students and to our program. So I am Professor Kelly Hoffman. I am the Director of Field Practicum. I'm also an Associate Professor at Kuiper College. So my role is to facilitate all the internships and make sure they run smoothly. I will use internship and practicum kind of as interchangeable words. Practicum is kind of the language that the Council of Social Work Education uses. Internship is more of a casual term, but they mean the same thing. So you'll see me a lot. You'll be hearing from me a lot during the internship process because it is my role to kind of act as liaison and coordinator of all of this fun stuff. So we're going to run through first just kind of this overview of where the Kuiper Social Work Program bases their education and their philosophy and their model. So we equip students to become generalist social work practitioners. So essentially what that means is we're approaching it from that systems perspective, kind of that human behavior in the social environment. We understand that our clients or individuals we work with are not silos that are just impacted by themselves and no one else. We look at the whole system and environment to kind of explore what's causing behavior, how can we make the best interventions, and how can we serve and understand each individual well. We're very empowerment focused, and so not the deficit approach. We're looking at what are they bringing to the table. We're having that belief that our clients and individuals are capable of change. Change might not look what we want the change to be, but we're looking at what does the individual identify as change in progress. So it's very person focused. Kind of number 3 is that strengths perspective. We're looking at the good things that individuals are already bringing to the table. We're not focusing on you're not doing this, you don't have this, the odds are stacked against you. Those are very real things. But we're looking at what can we do to motivate and empower individuals based on what they already have going on for them. Our education also is a multi-level approach. So not only we're not training social workers to be able to do just one level of practice. They're not just micro social work. They're not just meso. They're not just macro. They're understanding all the different systems and the multi-levels, and so kind of getting that well-rounded experience and understanding that of what social work involves in all those different levels. And then we obviously base everything in evidence, so the evidence-based approach. We don't just go off our gut of like, oh, this feels like it's going to work. No, we're doing the research. We're understanding the importance of having the evidence to back up interventions and approaches and kind of giving that good credibility to the work. So our generalist model, oops, where I went, I lost my video, but that's okay. Keep talking. All right, our generalist social work practice has a 6-stage problem-solving model. So we're teaching students how do we engage with either individuals, communities, groups, and then that leads to our assessment, so collecting all that data to understand the client, whether it be an individual, whether it be a group. We're trying to understand more deeply what is going on with them. Then we do the planning where we're looking at what needs are present, what do they want to do, what are they trying to accomplish. Implementation is creating those interventions and we evaluate, and then we eventually lead to termination. This is something that's woven through all of our education here. I'm going to explain some of the assignments required for practicum later on, But one of the assignments that the students are required to do is to to present a case study based on a client at their agency, and they're going to talk how they walked through all of these different steps. So how did they engage with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is important. Students should know it, and if not, I haven't done my job well. But it is something that they will have to apply directly to their practicum site. All right, so this is what, I mean, if you ignore everything else in this presentation, which please don't, but if you do, this is the stuff that is really important. These are the building blocks of the practicum experience and kind of the requirements to make sure that the student can receive a grade and complete this internship process successfully. So each student is required to complete 400 hours of in-field experience. So if the student is doing the 2-semester placement, it's 200 hours each semester. That roughly factors out to about 13 to 15 hours per week. If the student is doing the block placement where they're doing their internship in 1 semester, all 400 hours are completed during the semester. It's about 26 to 30 hours per week. We do adjust the NC course load for students, so they're not taking 4 classes on top of their internship. Typically, they're only taking 2 or 3, maybe 3 classes outside of the practicum in order to give them time to complete their practicum hours. Students, if they complete more than 200 hours in the first semester, that is fine. I still encourage them to keep track of it. They can't roll those extra hours into second semester, only because we want to acknowledge that 200 hours are part of the first credit or the first chunk of classes, and then the 200 hours, the remaining 200 hours are part of their second. So we do encourage students to still, if they are doing more than 200 hours in the first semester, still keep track of it. They're able then to put on a resume later that they completed a 432-hour internship versus 400. So it's just a little nuance I want to point out. We start our semester September 2. Students are welcome to start the week before to kind of do their orientation, start getting acclimated, getting their hours. But our semester runs from September 25 to April 26, or our year, not our semester, I apologize. For block placements, it will be September through December. We do try as an institution to schedule senior social work classes on the same days to kind of free up the time to be able to be in their internship. Each setting is going to have a different schedule for their interns based on their needs or availability. But we do try to leave days open for students to be there, and we don't schedule any Kuiper classes on Wednesday. So Wednesdays are always open for students to be able to get a good chunk of hours out if that works with your agency schedule and availability. So students and supervisors should be connecting now to kind of set up their schedule and have an idea of how to complete their 13 to 15 hours per week. So we want to make sure when the students are in their internships, they're kind of engaging in that generalist practice model that we talked about earlier. So integrating all of this knowledge that they've received in the classroom and then apply it to their individual settings. And again, each setting is different, so how those skills and knowledge is going to get implemented will look differently. But we're really aiming to have our students engage on all the different system levels and kind of understand the purpose of research and looking at the environment of the clients, and then being very strength-based in their approach. For supervision, students need to be assigned and have a BSW or MSW supervisor who've worked in the field for more than 2 years. Now, this does not have to be the person that they work side by side with every single day. Those might be, we call them sometimes task supervisors. They don't hold the MSW or BSW, but they're the ones who are involved in the day-to-day work. That is totally fine, but students do need to meet a minimum of 1 hour with their BSW or MSW supervisor to get kind of the social work feedback and keep us aligned with our standards from accreditation. So students might find that they have a task supervisor and then their MSW or BSW supervisor, totally fine, but we are asking that the MSW or BSW supervisor gives them an hour of supervision per week. And then that supervisor will also sign off on timesheets and the learning agreement because we need to have the credentials on there. All right, I am going to skip through this because I'm going to talk about the practicum assignments in part 2. I just want to quick go over kind of the roles in the field practicum. So we have 4 players involved in the field practicum process. We have the college, we have the practicum supervisor, so that's the one who holds the social work degree. We have the director of field practicum, which is me, and then we have the student. So Kuiper's role in all of this is we are committed to maintaining an accredited social work program. We actually just completed our accreditation process, which is a beast. We finished it in April, and now we're just waiting to hear the final report in October, but all signs point to we're just fine. But we make sure that we maintain accreditation to keep that validity and integrity of our program so that when you have a Kuiper student, you have someone who's received sound education. We develop and adhere to a screening process for admission to the social work program and internship placement. That falls heavily on myself, and then our director of the program, Professor Colin. We will also provide liability insurance for the college faculty and student and the agency while they are in the practicum. So I'll be giving you all those certificates via email. And then the college just provides oversight to students and kind of encouraging them as a whole, not just as a social work worker, but as a student, as a human being, to have positive relationships with others. The practicum supervisor, so this is the MSW or BSW, and this is also in tandem if there is a task supervisor, giving the student orientation to the agency, making sure that they know where their computer is, who everybody is, where their spot is, just making them feel welcome and part of the agency community. Engage the student in purposeful supervision, making sure that you're supporting and helping students with what they need. Assigning meaningful tasks to both meet the students' objectives and the agency needs. So not just giving busy work, but giving students ways to purposely add to the agency. Really looking to help provide the students with a variety of opportunities. So working with individuals, families, groups, communities, doing some policy, administrative look at things, such kind of getting all of those different systems. Assisting students in integrating their knowledge, theory, social work concepts, and values into the practicum experience. That kind of will be guided by the learning agreement. And then encourage students to participate in constructive criticism, both positive and negative with regard to work performance. So I think this is the opportunity to really help students grow. And so understanding that it's expected that they're not going to be perfect because they're still learning. So giving that good combination of the positive and corrective feedback whenever possible. I'm the director of field practicum, so I make sure that all of our practicum sites meet the program's criteria. So that's all set in place before the student even gets placed there. Providing the orientation, which I'm doing right now. Meeting with the practicum supervisor and students 3 times during their practicum experience. So I will come 2 times during the fall semester, once within the first month, just to make sure everything is up to speed, no questions, we're doing good. Then at the end of the semester to do their evaluation, and then the end of spring semester to do the final evaluation. I'm kind of the liaison and resource support for students, supervisors to kind of problem solve when needed and provide any support. And then I also run the weekly practicum seminar class for students. This is on campus. This is where they all get together kind of as a little support group to kind of process and discuss kind of what's going on in their practicum. And then finally, we have the students. Students have been, I don't want to say brainwashed because that sounds horrible. They've been flooded with the knowledge of the Code of Ethics and the importance of adhering to them and how that drives our conduct within this profession. And so we have that expectation that they are familiar with the Code of Ethics and will be ethical social workers within their practicum experience. We also set the standard that they are a professional member of the agency. They conduct themselves in a professional manner in dress, in interactions, and communication. They're going to apply the principles of social work that they've learned in the classroom into practicum. They're actively engaging in the evaluation process by doing self-evaluation through assignments and through supervision, and then asking for feedback from their practicum instructor and supervisor. And then they'll work directly with the practicum supervisor in event of problems. That's one of the big things that I encourage is that if there's an issue, don't come to me first, unless, there's some cases where that's necessary, but really doing that professional development of going to the person that they have an issue or concern with, and then I step in if needed. That is everything for part one. Stay tuned for part two.